Hello, people, those watching live and on YouTube. Welcome to another Decisions Lunch and Learn. I'm going to be your host for today, Gregory Goldston, on Tuesday, February the 18th. And as you can see here, we have a live training for Submersed. Once again, we're hosting Submersed. Please come out to it if you can. It is a fantastic way to basically get product training certified and learn a lot of cool stuff about decisions in a group and not just in a purely, you know, I guess, asynchronous setting. Something I also want to point out is that DocBot is migrating to the Decisions platform now as Dart. So when you go and click on your little support chat in the bottom left corner, or if you're on version 7, it might be bottom right. I'm not sure which one's on version 7. But for version 8 and 9, bottom left corner, when you normally pull up a chat to talk to a support member, you will now have access to DocBot AI, again called Dart. This will allow you to ask it a variety of questions that it can give you detailed answers to based upon our documentation site. It's just a really good way of taking what we have on our documentation and putting it and condensing it into a readable format. Well, the documentation's readable too, but I mean, if it wasn't, that'd be a problem. But y'all get what I'm saying. But that being said, that means the DocBot website, the URL itself, will be shutting down in the future, just so you all are aware. And with that being said, I think we are good to start answering questions. So if you all will give me just a moment, you can start putting your questions in the QA, and I'm going to switch my screen to my decisions environment. There we go. Y'all should be able to see this now. So our first question in the Q&A is from Smitha, and allow me to get my attendees out so I can unmute you. And let's see here. The question is there any way to allow case sensitivity in the import from Excel to CSV step? So I'm going to let you talk. And I think I understand what you're asking here. But so when you're importing Excel from CSV, you want to be able to distinguish between cases. What is your use case for distinguishing between those?
Yeah, so this is Joey Smith had forwarded me her invite, and
Oh,
it's
my bad.
no, it's fine. I didn't realize as it popped up that because I'd registered for these before, but I guess it just carried over with Mrs. profile. Yeah, so I'm importing these like template files in Excel that we're provided data in, and most of the time the column headers are what we expect. They're coded, so it's like AR1 through AR 233. And normally, like it says like capital A, capital R1, capital A, capital R2. But sometimes randomly, one of the fields is in lowercase. So it says like lowercase AR2. And so rather than having to need variations on each combination that there could be like 10 uppercase, one lowercase, etc. Um, I'm looking for a way to allow it to allow both AR1 uppercase or AR1 lowercase to map to my database field called AR1.
Oh, I see. And right now it's treating those as case sensitive.
Correct. Yeah, and in the documentation it says that like that step does not allow case sensitivity. And I can't really use like import by column location
Hmm.
just because they might shift around. So that yeah, that's kind of the and so right now I've got like multiple import from Excel steps, but obviously each time a new lowercase one comes in a different place, I don't want to have to add another combination of fields.
I
So if there was
see.
any thoughts that you had about how I could
Let's
do
think
that,
about this.
yeah.
Which of these are you using any of these three steps for that import, or are you doing it differently?
I am using the third one, import by column name.
Okay. All right, so you're picking the column names, you import the row lines, or you're going to choose some sort of thing to map it to a data type, right?
Yeah.
Specify the number of columns, import the worksheet that you want, or all of them, and
Yeah.
then here's your output data type, and then you're going in and you're mapping them, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And the problem is that when you're mapping them, sometimes you have this issue of I
Yeah.
see, I
The
see.
column name is different because like what I've set as the mapping in the Excel, like the column name is in uppercase one time and then it's in lowercase another time.
Hmm. And because of that, you get two separate columns.
Well, no, it just says like cannot map like X column because it's not in the mapping.
Oh, I see. I see. Yeah, you're gonna need some sort of You're gonna need some sort of logic before it. I have theories. The first thing that comes to mind is potentially, and I don't know if this is the best answer, it's just the first answer
Hmm.
that's coming to mind, is having a separate data type that can contain those variations, not the main data type, but a separate data type that you can then just process into your main data type after this process of importing occurs. So you map the CSV or Excel file
Hmm.
to a data type that contains those variations. Those variations will be run through something like a rule collection filter, a truth table, something along those lines, and then be put to a mapping step based upon logic that has occurred after the import. Because the step itself doesn't allow for that, but we don't want to map it to our type and then start messing around with our type. That doesn't seem like the best way to go about it either. So that's my first thought on this. But I don't have an immediate, like, really quick solution that I can think of. At least not immediately. Vitali does
Hmm.
seem like he has something to suggest, though, so I am going to unmute him. Hey, Vitali, what you got?
Hey, yeah, if that's CSV, you can just before you map, you can just get like a first row and just do upper, so it's always uppercase. Or if it's in Excel, you can do the same for the first row to make sure that your headers are always in uppercase. And after you modify that, you can map.
That
Okay.
that
And
makes
that
sense
won't,
to me.
and so like, because my column headers are like, um, they are like, like the column, the value is like AR1 or AR2, and it's like AR1, AR2, AR3, all the way through 233. So if I do upper, it will allow that even though like it's a mix of string and number value. Like it's all string, but it can do that even though like there's two like alphanumeric values and then a number value.
Yeah, what he's talking about is it's before you even do the import, you can pass the same file in this way. You would get the value in the first row, which would contain all the columns.
Yeah.
You would then set those values, to the uppercase version of those in that same file, and then you import the file and have it
Well,
into your data type. You just put your
okay.
logic for making it uppercase in here.
So yeah, got it.
That making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it is a mixture of things, you may have to do a little bit more logic than just, the simple uppercase. It may or may not work, but you can do that logic now without creating a new data type and just altering that first line in the CSV.
Got it. Could I like map it through a truth table?
Yeah, absolutely. You could do it like that. If it's
Yeah.
like this, or this, you can output this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then what that does is you get the value. The value is going to come out as a string value, okay? So it gets a column number and the row. So you may actually have to go, There's got to be a quicker way to go through each one. Give me just a moment. Here's all your steps, by the
Uh,
way. Go under data and then Excel and CSV, and these are all of the Excel CSV steps for working with it.
if there's a CSV file, you can just split by rows. So by basically by carried return, and then you just uppercase first line, and then you delete first line and just change for the uppercase. If that's the CSV, if that's Excel, that's different.
Yeah. And instead of using get value, you may want to just do get row. They'll just grab the whole object at once, so now you don't have to go through every single one.
Yeah.
And then you can apply Vitali's logic. So yeah, here and then I'm just gonna put a truth table just to there are different ways you can do this. Truth table will probably work pretty well. You may have to break it up depending on the output of this. I don't mind looking into this. If you'd like further assistance, I don't mind looking into this after lunch and learn, or if we have time kind of near the end of it to try and build this out a little bit more specifically.
Hmm.
But yeah,
So
that would be your basic process. You get the
got
first
it.
row, right? So file you pass in, file type you would specify here if it's C I don't know, are they all Excel, CSV, or are you just taking them in writing?
XLX, yeah, that one, yeah.
Okay.
I could probably if it needs to be in CSV though, I can just convert it to a CSV.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
row number would be 0,
Yep.
ignore first row. We do not want to ignore the first row, and then we'll get that one. Here's the file. It'll pass out that first row as a string value that you
Hmm.
can then either break apart or maybe configure the logic in the truth table depending on how it treats this.
Yep. Okay.
Set the value back to the same file, right? So column number, set value in CSV row. Hmm. Or is it set row? Set values in row. Here we go. That might be what we're looking for. Import file, delimiter, ignore that. This is constant for, nope, there we go. Constant 0, input file, you specify that. Row, column, new values, list of string. Yeah, it may be, it's one of these two, depending on how it's set up.
Yeah.
I can test that and confirm, of course. But yeah, I do not mind working on a project. I was actually doing something kind of similar to messing around with Excel imports just last lunch and learn that I hosted. The only difference was is they were taking a vertical set of data and trying to make it horizontal.
Got it, like transposing.
Exactly, which there is a project that does that now and functions properly. So I've still got a lot of test stuff that I can use for that. And if you would like, I would be glad to send you a test project that would kind of showcase that functionality.
Okay. Yeah, that could be useful.
Yeah, I will definitely get on that after our lunch and learn. I will try to build that out and send that to you. I will at least send you a message by the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've still got your email from when I was working support, so I'll be able to send it to you.
Yeah. Yeah, if not, I can get Smith to forward it. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Cool beans. Did you have any follow-up questions with that?
No,
Or
that this seems logical. Yeah, I will try this out myself.
all right, sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right, we have another question now, and it is from Grant. I'm gonna save this so I can mess with this logic later. All right. The question says, I have a requests folder where requests remain in a pending state until they are approved. Is there a way to set up a reoccurring email reminder that is sent every 24 hours until the request is approved? Grant, I'm going to unmute you because I'm going to say 90%, depending on your setup, almost certainly yes, but I guess there may be niche cases where it can't be. But you should be able to talk now. So let's go over this. All right, so you've got a folder in here. I'm just going to create one that allows everything for now. This is
Yeah, it's just like a process folder that's just got all the different requests in it. And we're kind of noticing a problem of like people are not reading their email. So we're kind of wanting to every 24 hours have it resend it to them because it is important that they do approve it. So I just didn't know if there was a way to do that, and I didn't know how all that would work.
All right. I have a quick question about the nature of the requests. Are these assignments or are these something else?
Um, I think it's just more like it sets the entity state after each approval is done. I don't know that it assigns it to like an email group or anything.
Oh, okay. Well, that's really easy then. All right, hold on. Yeah, that no, you just made this a lot easier. So if it's just an entity that's in a particular state, here,
Yeah.
I'm going to create one just to give you kind of an overview here. Let's just make not even a case entity. I'm just going to make an entity here. We'll call this grant requests. We'll give it a name if I can not overcapitalize everything, and then favorite color. This will set to an integer and we'll save that. All right, cool. All right. That entity has a configuration here, right?
Yeah.
So there should be different. Oh, you had a case entity, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, because you've got process tracking. I should have heard that and recognized that, man. That is my bad. Anyways, let's go do that. Case entity. Let's do that instead. There we go. We'll do the same thing. Grant requests case. I feel like I made this exact same mistake before. This seems like a deja vu moment, but anyways. And we'll set this to integer, save that. All right. And now we can make some custom states just to make this a little bit easier. So pending, reviewed, and then we'll do like a complete or something like that. But let's hold on. There we go. All right. So now if we create a flow. Oh, wait, I'm gonna need a I need that ID, I think. More get designer folder ID. Let me copy that. I may need that. All right. Create requests. And we're just going to create a few of them in here real quick. So the main idea of this process is you're going to run a scheduled job. And that scheduled job is going to run every 24 hours. What it can do is it can fetch the entities by state and send emails to any users that are associated with that entity. I don't know if you have someone that's assigned to a particular entity or if you have it so that users are just like a particular group is supposed to look at it every once in a while. But it's a pretty straightforward process of just trying to send them a list of why do I not have inputs? Hello? Well, that's very strange. Interesting. I'm not sure how that happened. We'll fix that later, I guess, but that's very strange to me. Especially if you're creating it under case entity grant request case. Huh. I don't know what happened there. Anyways, we'll run this. Yep, object tools was applied. Object and then object. All right, yep. All right. Well, I was expecting that sort of stuff. So let's go back into it. There should be something to specify. Hmm. I wonder if my decision service is giving me trouble right now. Could be something along those lines. Hmm. If I debug it. Yeah, no input. Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right. Let's just see if it's something with our data types or if something went wrong here. So grant case configuration right here, pending state review. That makes sense. There's the cases that grant request case. Do, do, do. Yep, these are all saved in here properly. We got the name, we got the integer, we got the favorite color. Everything looks fine there. Maybe it's a namespace problem. Give that a save. See if that fixes anything. Hmm. I don't think I've ever seen this error before. That's very strange. I've never seen it just like not show up, you know? If I drag a new one? Nope. Weird. Okay. I'll try making it in the request folder. Maybe it's something with that. I doubt it, but if this doesn't work, we'll just go into the main crux of the issue here. Because now the data type's created, we can actually show you how to set this up. So let's go into that. We'll create a flow here. This flow is going to fetch the entities, all right? So this is just going to contain a fetch entity step, first of all. It'll get a list of all of those that are in that particular state, right? So we'll go to the case entity. Oh, wow, it's not even generating them. That's crazy. Hmm. But you would pick your data type here, which is the grant case entity, grant request case. I'll figure out why it's not loading. You should get it to load in your environment just fine,
Okay.
but there is a kind of an issue with this. So for this one, let me just grab accounts real quick. So you'd fetch all of a particular kind of entity that's coming in, and then you would filter them by that state criteria. You will have a state criteria if you have a case entity. So you add a fetch criteria. I would pick the field, which is going to be state, and then you would specify that here, right? Pending review or waiting or whatever it's called. That making sense? And then
Yes.
you have a few different ways that you can do this. You can do a for each that goes through and determines how these are supposed to get sent to people via email. So if you want a one by one email, if there's a particular email attached to that entity, you would do it this way and then the send email. Or if it's a particular group that needs to handle all of them, you can just send it directly to a send email, specify the constant group list, right? So two, you could specify everyone that's in that group here, or you could create a lookup list and get them. But the idea is that you specify that here if it doesn't need to be dynamic. Here's where you could actually pick that from the flow if you need it for each individual, right? Flow data, decide who to assign it to from here. And that flow data, you would pick the entity result and then whatever email would be attached to that. The way you run that in version 9 is you go under Manage, Jobs and Events, Schedule Jobs, create a new job, call it email 24 hours. You pick the flow that you want to run. You specify how often you want to run, right? So yours would be a daily schedule. You would run this every single time, right? And then the start date would be whenever, and you can choose which hour of the day you want to send that to on which days of the week, if you want to respect business days or not. You hit save on that. And now that runs once every 24 hours, but then you would configure the logic inside of your requests here. Once I get it, there we go. So if it fetches the results, it sends the email, right? If it doesn't find any results, if there are no entities in that pending state, just end it. Scheduled job will run again in 24 hours.
Okay, so are you saying that like if it doesn't find any results, then it will not send any emails, but if it does find results, then it will send out emails to those people in that list?
Exactly. You just
Okay.
yeah, because if it goes down the results path, that's where the logic happens, and then no results, it goes down here. I actually have that same logic used in another project. I can show you real quick in the
Yeah, that'd
three
be great.
challenges project. So what I do is in this particular project, which is part of our training, there is a scheduled job in here that creates accounts. And I need those accounts so that people can actually mess with and send certain people certain accounts, right? So those accounts are static. But I don't want it to keep creating accounts in their environment and overflood it with just a barrage of accounts. So the logic I have set up in here is I run this one every 5 minutes. It goes in here. It looks for the accounts that I created that have a particular field in them. Their department is set to testers. If it finds that those exist already, it won't send anything out. If they don't exist, it creates the 5 static accounts from the list I created here. It adds the accounts to decisions. And so even though this job runs over and over again, only the logic gets hit once. You're kind of doing the reverse, where if you find something that has that particular state, you want to do the logic to send your emails. If nothing occurs, you just send it to the end.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Thank you.
hmm And since yours is running on a daily schedule, you shouldn't have a lot of overhead by just running a blank job in the background, especially if you're just literally connecting it from, hey, fetch this, nothing, go to the end step, you know?
Right.
But yeah, that'd probably be the best way to handle that. Oop, didn't mean to do that. Did you have any further questions about that?
No, I think it should be pretty simple to implement in. But I appreciate you showing me that other project as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That one's, I don't think that one's going to be made available for training anytime soon, just so you all know. But yeah, that's how that works. All right. Cool, cool, cool. That is all the list of Q&A stuff that I currently have in the backlog here. So if anyone does have any further questions, now would be a good time to post them. I will continue to talk for here for about 5 more minutes, but if either the questions or the participant number remains static, I think we're just going to call it a day. So one thing that I've actually been looking into now is something called the decisions culture. And I'm not talking about the work environment, but rather a particular feature that you can enable in decisions to either be set globally at the portal settings or on an individual basis. So I was talking about languages the other day and how decisions translation works. The culture is kind of similar to that. So if you search it here, there's going to be a default culture that is set for the portal. And any account that does not have a culture set is going to use the default culture. The kind of things that this affects in the decisions environment is primarily the presentation of data on reports. There are other places where it might be noticeable, such as the date time format, where you may have day, month, year instead of month, day, year in a US culture. So for example, if I were to set this to let's set it to Great Britain, right? GB, Great Britain, English, United Kingdom, and I save that. Look how all the dates just changed, right? So now you've got day, month, year, all throughout the environment. So that is one particular area where that comes in handy. It will affect the display of currency when you're trying to use that on reports to better reflect that. I do not know all of the intricacies of every language. I have a job here working in decisions, not as a linguist, but I can tell you that we do try to match those as best as possible to match that culture's presentation of data. So I'm going to send it back just so I can go into the other part. And yeah, here we go. So let me save that. That's going to go back. And I mentioned you can set it at the account level as well. You could definitely set up a flow to do this instead of going one by one. But since I'm on the admin account right now, I can kind of show you what those would look like. So at the very top, you have the option for culture. Typically, it's blank when you create a new account. But this is where you can set all of the different options so that you see that different presentation of data. If you have particular users in a particular group that you know are from a certain region, you may be able to set the culture for their account so that things are a bit more readable for them. So I'm going to go to Great Britain again just because I know how that affects the data. And look, now my account sees all the stuff, even though the portal culture is set to US, now this is set to Great Britain, everything looks different for the account that I'm currently using. So I'm going to go back and change that real quick. But I hope that does make some sense. And it's a very cool feature that Decisions has that I have not fully explored, but there will be a video on it. So yeah. There we go. Okay. Well, I'm not seeing any more questions. I'm not seeing any more people. So I think we're going to end this one early. Really appreciate y'all for coming out, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, not snow-filled day. Oh, do you have a question?
No, just saying thank you.
Oh, okay. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Glad you're here. All right. Adios, y'all.
Bye.